Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. President. So we had a conversation in this in committee as well, but I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things with you. Texas already has pretty robust conscience protections and religious exemptions for folks who don't feel comfortable doing a certain type of procedure. Chapter 103 of the Occupations Code, the Health and Safety Code, Senate Bill 8 when it's specifically about abortions, and then the Texas Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So what happened that caused you to want to write this bill? What prompted it?
So yes, there are protections both federally and in our state code, but there are gaps in that code for certain medical professionals. And so what this bill is going to do is just make sure that we're not discouraging those folks who really have compassion, they seek to go into the medical industry. We want to make sure that they are not discouraged from going into the industry because of potential of being forced to do things against their conscience.
And in committee, we heard mostly testimony around abortion, which of course is illegal now, and some gender transition care, which of course nobody is required to provide. It's a pretty specific type of doctor that does that stuff. So I guess I'm just curious, where are the gaps? What was going on in your district that prompted this bill?
Well, there's a handful of things. Like we saw certain things during COVID, where certain medical professionals were required to do stuff. This would also, when you look at it, it would also include like pharmacies and their requirement to do particular things. It is fairly broad. But the goal here is to make sure that all of our healthcare professionals are protected as far as their ability to do their profession, but also protect their own conscience.
And I do hear you using the word profession a lot, but your bill actually includes everybody, including care technicians, correct?
It does, yes.
And it doesn't require that there actually be some sort of religious reason, and so it's just kind of conscience, which is almost opinion. Would you agree?
No, it's a very specific. It's not just an opinion. It's a deeply held belief, and so it's again. I go back to the fact that people don't go into this industry, as you know, without pretty strong convictions of wanting to help others. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And so it's a very broad definition of conscience, and it's literally every single healthcare worker. There's no defined scope of refusals. It's no particular role or particular types of procedures, correct?
Well, the procedure is actually, defined, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think it may be so broad as to include like somebody providing toileting care even. And it's certainly not just to licensed folks. And then, Senator, are you aware of the term patient abandonment?
Well, why don't you enlighten me so that we're on the same page?
It's an ethical principle. It's illegal to abandon a patient. I do appreciate that your bill carves out emergencies. That's huge, especially as an emergency professional myself. But there are no provisions ensuring the continuity of care. So there's nothing to say you have to refer somebody to someone who is going to provide the treatment or procedure or care that they need. And so I am concerned that your bill may make room for patient abandonment, especially where there's not too many healthcare providers available.
Well, I can understand that concern. I would tell you that the way the bill is designed, this is not something that happens last minute. The facilities are required to produce a protocol and, to make sure that they have continuance of care already taken care of. So it's not something that's going to happen at, unforeseen.
Okay. I don't know if I read that, but okay. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions. I do just want our fellow members to know that for a very long time, we've developed medical ethics in a way that we don't impose paternalistically. We don't impose our morals onto other people. We use data and we help folks advocate for themselves. It's a pretty fundamental principle to medical ethics. Actually, every single medical show you've ever watched on TV has wrestled with this exact concept. And we've always arrived back at the place that paternalism is wrong, and that it's very important for us not to impose our ethics and morals on others, but rather to treat them in a judgment-free zone. It gets us the best public health outcomes. So my reservations and fears remain. I'm voting no on this bill, but I really appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your questions, and I don't believe this bill is trying to impose anybody's particular moral or ethics on anyone else. So thank you for your questions.
Thank you.